Oui, bonjour tout le monde et bienvenue à notre dernière journée ensemble. C'est juste un rappel que demain et jeudi vont être des journées de travail. Si on n'a pas de rencontre de Teams. Um, Aujourd'hui, on va regarder aux lettres de présentation. So we're going to look at cover letters, qui est une autre partie d'une application pour un emploi. So generally, there are two documents that go into applying for jobs. So your resume, so votre CV qu'on a vu hier, et la lettre de présentation. So the cover letter. So those are kind of the two major parts of job applications. Ensuite, aussi aujourd'hui, on va regarder aux entrevues et on va voir le type de questions qui sont généralement demandées à des entrevues. So voici les deux Dropbox. Encore, ceux-ci sont des travaux que M. Levac et moi allons corriger. Donc, faites certain de les remettre dans le Dropbox. Encore aucun rencontre Teams demain ou jeudi. Tous les travaux encore sont dus par la fin de la journée jeudi. Okay, so any kind of outstanding assignments, even things from the civics class, can be submitted up until Thursday. After that, we can't accept them anymore. Monsieur Levac et moi devons avoir tous nos commentaires et corrections de compléter par vendredi. So we have a pretty quick turnaround. So our report cards, marking, commentaries, all of that stuff has to be done by Friday. So the absolute latest we can accept stuff is Thursday. So please be sure to get all of those assignments that we've indicated that we're marking, get those done. Si vous ne pensez pas être capable de compléter tous vos travaux, envoyez-nous un courriel aussitôt que possible. So if you are feeling overwhelmed, if something has come up and you don't know if you're going to be able to get all of those assignments done, please reach out to us with an email and we'll kind of come up with a plan and figure out what you can do to, at the very least, earn the credits and so that this summer wasn't kind of a waste of your time. Et aussi, si vous avez aucune question au sujet de vos travaux, s'il vous plaît, n'hésitez jamais de nous demander des questions. OK. So, on va commencer avec la lettre de présentation. OK, so, encore, qu'est-ce que c'est une lettre de présentation? So, c'est un document formel qui accompagne votre curriculum vitae. So, it's a letter that accompanies your resume. Et elle sert à vous présenter aux employeurs éventuels et les convaincre que vous êtes la personne la plus qualifiée pour le poste offert. So, you can think of your resume kind of as a fact sheet that kind of says, okay, these are the skills that I have, these are the qualifications that I have, and your cover letter is almost more like an opinion essay that explains why you are the best person for that job. Okay, so il est important que votre lettre de présentation ne reprend pas seulement le contenu de votre CV. So you don't want to just regurgitate the information that is on your resume. Elle doit fournir un complément d'information. So you want your cover letter to kind of complement and fill in the gaps of your resume. So, les renseignements importants à inclure dans votre lettre de présentation. So, things that you should include in your cover letter. So, vous présentez en mentionnant le poste que vous désirez et comment vous avez pris connaissance de sa disponibilité. So, you want to kind of introduce yourself as well as mention which job you are applying for and how you found out about that job posting. Okay, so obviously the first thing is you introduce yourself, your name. Again, you don't want to just say, I'm applying for the job because, again, depending on the size of the company, they might have postings for a variety of different jobs. And if you are not clearly identifying what job you are applying for, they're not going to continue reading your cover letter or your resume. They're not going to bother. Okay, so be clear with what job you are applying for and where you found out about that job. So if it was from the job bank, if it was from the newspaper, wherever, just be clear with where you saw that job posting. Expliquez en quoi vous êtes qualifié pour le poste et pourquoi vous êtes la personne la mieux placée pour l'occuper. So you want to explain how you are qualified for that job and why you are the best person to kind of occupy that job. Demandez de l'employeur de vous recevoir en entrevue et le remercier d'avoir examiné votre demande. So you want to kind of ask the employer for the opportunity for an interview, as well as thanking them for taking the time to have read your letter and your application. Okay, so il y a deux, so on va voir des exemples de lettres de présentation. So just like with the resumes yesterday, there is a blank template, or there is a template en anglais et en français. Vous allez en écrire une en anglais et une en français. Okay, so again, I want these cover letters to be in French and English. The content can be the same, you just have to write one and then translate the other. Et il y a généralement deux types de lettres de présentation. So there's two kind of cases where you're writing a cover letter. So la première est avec un emploi annoncé. So this is if you are applying for a job that was advertised. Okay, so you go to the job bank, you find a job at No Frills, and it says that No Frills is hiring for cashiers. This is the job posting number. So that is that. Right? So in your cover letter, you will write that I'm applying for the position of cashier as posted on the North Bay Job Bank. Posting number, blah blah blah. Ensuite, les emplois non annoncés. And then sometimes you will just bring a resume to a business that you would like to work at, even though they may not have a job available now. Often employers will keep kind of stacks of cover letters and resumes in case they do need to hire someone. They have kind of a stack already. So that's kind of like cold calling, where you just walk into places and give resumes. So in that case, you want to indicate, instead of saying, that you're applying for a specific job that was posted on a specific place, because that's not the case, you want to explain why you would like to work in that environment for that company. And so that's where that difference kind of comes in. Okay, so 10 conseils concernant la lettre de présentation. So kind of 10 pieces of advice when writing your cover letter. So faites vos devoirs, renseignez-vous le plus possible sur l'entreprise ou l'organisme, et ensuite adaptez votre lettre de présentation. So you want to kind of do your homework a little bit. You want to understand who it is, who or what the company is all about, so that you can kind of tailor your cover letter to suit what they want. Suivez les instructions. Assurez-vous d'inclure tous les renseignements demandés dans l'offre d'emploi. Par exemple, s'il est demandé d'indiquer le nombre d'heures par semaine où vous êtes en mesure de travailler, il faut l'indiquer dans votre lettre de présentation. So be sure to follow instructions. So make sure that if they ask for specific information in the job posting, that you provide that information in your cover letter. So for example, if they ask you to indicate how many hours per week you're available to work, make sure you put that information in your cover letter. Ne faites pas que répéter le contenu de votre CV. So, profitez de votre lettre de présentation pour faire une bonne première impression. So you want to do more than just repeat your resume. Again, employers, when they put out job postings, they often will have 20, 30 possibly people applying for the job. They don't have time to, they're not going to waste their time reading your cover letter if it only kind of regurgitates what your resume says. So you want to make sure that you take a chance to make a very good first impression. Let them know what you're about, right? What kind of person are you? Personnalisez votre lettre. Dans la mesure du possible, adressez votre lettre à une personne précise et évitez les fautes d'orthographe dans le nom et son titre. So try, if possible, to personalize your letter. So don't always go to whom this may concern. If you are able to find out the name of the person that will be kind of doing the hiring, then make sure you put their name in, make sure you don't misspell their name or their job title. Adaptez votre lettre au poste à faire. So you want to make sure that you're adapting your cover letter to the job that is available or that's being offered. So hopefully from this class, you will be able to use your resume. And hopefully it's something that will be kind of practical for you in your real life outside of school. The same thing with this cover letter. While your resume, you may not need to change much when you're applying for different jobs, you're going to want to make sure that your cover letter just gets tweaked in a way that is more kind of fitting for each different job posting. So you don't need to change everything, but you may need to change a couple of sentences here and there. La présentation est importante. So, utiliser une police de caractères facile à lire comme Times New Roman ou Arial, le papier blanc. Presentation is important. So you want your cover letter to look good. So make sure that whatever font you use is easy to read. Again, if they're having to read 20 or 30 different cover letters and you're using kind of a flowy, scripty font that is difficult to read, they're not going to waste their time kind of putting the effort into reading that. So kind of a simple, clear font, white paper is usually kind of what is advised. Fragmentez votre texte. Votre lettre sera plus facile à lire si vous fragmentez son contenu en courts paragraphes. So you don't want to write, one giant paragraph. Kind of chunk it up, and you'll see in the example just below how it breaks up into like 3 or 4 different paragraphs, and it just is easier on the reader if they have to read short paragraphs as opposed to, even if it's the same content, and if it's 12 sentences. 12 sentences broken up into 4 paragraphs is a lot easier to read than 12 sentences in 1 paragraph. Adoptez un ton professionnel. So, rédigez votre lettre de présentation dans un langage professionnel et respectueux. So again, the language is a choice, so you want to choose a professional voice. So you want to make sure that, you are not writing in the same way that you would be texting your friends, right? So you want to use words and punctuation and sentence structure that is professional and respectful. Soyez bref, votre lettre de présentation devrait se tenir sur une seule page. So again, you want, it's kind of a tough balance. You want to make sure that you provide enough information, but you don't want to be so wordy that, again, you have to think that this person reading this also has potentially 20 others, and if they see that your cover letter is 3 pages long, they're not going to read it all, right? So you generally want to make sure that your cover letter fits in 1 page. Et relisez-vous. Relisez plusieurs fois votre lettre de présentation et demandez à quelqu'un d'autre de lire votre lettre. So you want to review your letter, reread it, proofread it, get somebody else to read it. You don't want to make any grammar mistakes. You don't want to make any spelling mistakes. So make sure you get somebody to check it over. So encore, voici un exemplaire. So vous pouvez, si vous voulez, le copier et le mettre dans votre propre document pour votre lettre. Okay, so again, this is an example. You can copy and paste it and use that as your example if you want. So vous allez mettre votre nom et votre adresse et votre information. Si vous avez le nom de contact et le titre de l'emploi, okay, vous pouvez mettre cela. So if you know the person's name or their job title that is taking the applications, then do that. Have a greeting. Make sure you know the formal designation for the person you're contacting. So if you're not sure if it's a Mr. or Mrs., try and find that out if you can. Et voici la façon dont vous allez organiser vos paragraphes. So, le premier paragraphe est une introduction. So, vous allez lire le paragraphe pour vous introduire. Soyez professionnel et mentionnez la position pour laquelle vous appliquez et pourquoi. So you want to make sure that you introduce yourself, you get the attention of the employer, be professional, polite, mention what job you're applying for, why you're applying for it, and how you found out about it. And then it's also a good idea to explain why you would like to be a part of that organization. Paragraphes 2 et 3, so description. So, ceci est la section la plus importante. Expliquez vos qualifications et pourquoi vous devriez être considéré pour la position. C'est important de ne pas répéter votre résumé. Donnez des exemples spécifiques et explique comment vos compétences peuvent être appliquées à la position. Okay, so in this main body of your paragraph, it's usually 1 or 2 paragraphs long. Explain your qualifications, why you are the perfect person for that job. Make sure you're not just repeating content from your resume. You can take things from your resume and then give specific examples and explain how your skills help you in that whatever position you're applying for. So if you think back to yesterday with the resumes, right, you've got those 3 skills. Think about you can take that first skill and how would you be able to apply that skill in this job, or how have you applied that skill in the past, and how would that skill apply in this job that you're applying for. So this part of this letter is meant to convince the employer that you would be a valuable addition to the team. So again, the whole point of the cover letter is to persuade the employer that you are the absolute perfect employee. And so you want to try and make sure that you're always trying to convince them of that. Et finalement, paragraphe 4, la conclusion. So, faites certain de compléter votre lettre d'une façon respectueuse. Parlez de votre désir d'être une partie de l'organisation et demandez poliment pour une entrevue. So you want to make sure that you are kind of thanking them for the opportunity, be courteous, reinforce your desire to be a part of the organization, and politely request for an interview, and mention that you'd be willing to contact them in a week, unless it says that not to call or email. Make sure you respect those wishes. So, ensuite, vous allez finir avec un merci et votre nom. Okay? Si possible, signez votre nom. So make sure that, if possible, you're able to sign your name, but you finish with a thank you, and then your name. So voici un exemplaire. So 2 exemplaires ici. So ici, voici so here's a template en français et des exemplaires en français. Okay. So, faites certain de composer votre lettre de présentation en anglais et en français. Yeah. So, ça, c'est les lettres de présentation. Ensuite, OK, les entrevues. So, quelques points importants à se rappeler avant, pendant et après une entrevue. So, if all goes well and your resume and your cover letter interest the employer, then the next step is to meet you, talk to you, ask some questions, and from there, they get a sense of who is the best person for the job. So, avant l'entrevue, faites certain de vous renseigner sur l'entreprise, entraînez-vous, préparez les questions que vous souhaitez poser, soignez votre apparence et votre tenue vestimentaire, et assurez-vous d'arriver en avance. Okay, so things you want to do before is you want to, again, find out about the company, the business, whoever you might be working for, get a sense of what they do, what the space is like, what are their business values, what is important for them. Entraînez-vous, so practice. Again, you want to kind of try and anticipate what kinds of questions they might ask you, and so you want to be sure that you have answers prepared for those. And then almost all the time at the end of interviews, they will give you a chance to ask questions. And so having some questions prepared ahead of time is a good idea. And again, it kind of depends, talk to your parents, talk to other people that have had kind of jobs. Often finding out about what the work environment is like is a good idea. Probably asking for next Saturday off before you even have the job is probably not the kind of question you should be asking, right? So it's kind of, again, it's kind of a fine balance between trying to find out and get the information that you need without, right, you don't want to ask kind of silly questions, I guess, in a sense. Make sure your appearance fits the job, right? So if you are, again, make sure that you dress in a way that is kind of suitable for the employment, so that you kind of don't come off as either, I don't know, underprepared or things like that. Like you want to make sure that you are clean and tidy, and that your appearance matters. And then don't be late. So you're better to arrive, 5 or 10 minutes early, and you wait for your interviewer to be ready, as opposed to showing up late and making them wait. Pendant l'entrevue, so détendez-vous et soyez vous-même. So you want to be relaxed and be yourself. You're obviously going to be nervous, but try and breathe and just kind of be who you are. Répondez aux questions complètement et avec calme. So you want to make sure that you answer fully the questions that they ask you. Be calm. It's okay to pause for a moment and think about your answer. Right? You don't need to immediately, they ask the question and immediately you provide the answer. It's okay to take a breath, think about what you want to say, and then go ahead. Poser des questions pour mieux connaître l'entreprise. So again, this goes back to those questions. You want to learn more about the business. Et demander quand vous pouvez espérer avoir de nouvelles. And it's also a good idea to say, do you have an idea of when you might make a decision, just to know, so you have a sense of a timeline. So, après l'entrevue, notez comment vous pourriez vous améliorer pour votre prochaine entrevue. So it's a good idea to, when you get home, kind of replay the interview in your head and think about how you could be better for your next one. Because the reality is you are going to be, probably doing interviews for a large portion of your life. So it is something that you are going to have to get used to doing, and it's a good idea to kind of always think about how you could be better. Expédiez rapidement une lettre ou courriel de remerciement à la personne qui vous a reçu en entrevue et exprimez-lui combien vous avez apprécié votre rencontre. So depending on the person, and you may get a sense of that in the interview, if you feel like they are open and you had a really good time and kind of you were able to communicate well and you felt comfortable with them, it's not a bad idea to send a short thank you email, just, thanking them for the interview and letting them know how much you appreciated their time. So voici des exemples d'entrevues sur YouTube. So these are video links that you can watch. Again, it's not necessary, but it's optional. It's a resource there for you. Et voici votre travail. So il y a 4 parties. So partie A, B, C et D. Et vous allez choisir 2 questions par partie et vous allez les répondre. Okay, so if you want, what you can do is if you've kind of through this process with your resume and cover letter, if you've imagined that you are applying for a part-time job, then you can imagine that this is an interview for that job. Okay, and so you're going to choose 2 questions per part. So partie A, apprendre à se connaître. So these are, often they will ask you questions about you, right? So you need to be able to answer it, again, in a way that ties into their job and what they want. So vous allez choisir 2 questions. Vous pouvez copier la question ou au moins me dire partie A, question 1, et ensuite écrivez votre réponse. Donnez-moi beaucoup de détails. Right? So I don't want a 1 or 2 sentence answer. I want, to get kind of the fullest marks, I want, 4 or 5 sentences kind of per answer, so that you can, again, flesh out those answers and make sure that in an interview process you are giving them as much information as you can give them. Okay, so choisissez 2 questions de partie A. Partie B, so votre expérience de travail. So this relates to your work or volunteer experience. Again, so you can, yeah, so pick two of those questions and answer them. Again, fleshing it out and giving me a lot of details. Partie C, adaptabilité et style de travail. So this is how adaptable are you? What's your work style? So again, it's more about kind of the job itself and kind of the industry. Partie D, personnalité et relations humaines. So this has to do with your personality and how you relate to other people. So again, so those are kind of the four main categories of questions that you get asked, especially for kind of these entry-level jobs, these part-time jobs. As you get more into more specialized employment, then the interviews become more specialized, and they want to get a sense of how what you know and how you work in that specific environment. But for kind of a first job, especially where there are no kind of highly specialized skills or qualifications, these are generally the types of questions that you get asked. So ici, vous allez choisir so deux questions par partie. Ça dit ici créer une vidéo, mais ce n'est pas nécessaire de créer une vidéo. Okay, vos réponses écrites sont tout ce que j'ai besoin. Okay, so ça c'est tout. So aujourd'hui et demain, demain et jeudi sont des journées de travail. Si vous pouvez nous remettre le travail avant jeudi, ça serait bien apprécié. So if you, any of these assignments, if you're able to finish before Thursday, you don't have to wait until Thursday to submit it. It would make life easier for us. If you have it done, just submit it so that we can mark it. And it'll just make life a little bit easier for us on Thursday, Friday. Yeah, so c'est tout. Encore, jeudi est la date finale, so Thursday, end of the day, is kind of the absolute latest we can accept your work. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email us. If you feel like there are assignments that you're not going to be able to finish, again, please reach out sooner rather than later, and we can work out some kind of agreement to make sure that you get enough done to earn the credits. And so that is it. Merci beaucoup. J'espère que vous avez un bon restant de votre été. So enjoy the summer. You've all been excellent. Okay, c'est tout. Merci beaucoup.